Hello everyone. Today we continue to follow a deeply emotional story, the journey of a single mother, a woman with a heart full of resilience and a longing to return to her roots. This is the story of Dieu Han, a young mother who left her rural village with her child, heading to the city with a single hope: to meet her biological parents, whom she had never seen before. The next morning, dew still clung to every branch, and the cold wind drifted through narrow alleys. Dieu Han gently opened her eyes after a night spent at the home of a kind but unfamiliar family. Last night she had gone door to door throughout the neighborhood, asking around in hopes that someone might recognize her father, but everyone shook their heads. They didn't know. She woke early, not because her sleep was shallow, but because something restless stirred within her, an unnamed feeling she couldn't shake. Her little boy, Tom, was still sound asleep, his chubby cheeks pressed against the thin blanket she had begged for the day before. She sat there, watching her son sleep, her eyes welling up with tears. Tom, we're about to begin a new journey. I don't know what lies ahead, but I believe, as long as I have you by my side, I'll get through it all. And so, Dieu Han carried Tom and stepped out of the narrow alley, her feet pressing against the cold ground, yet her eyes shone with unwavering determination. While the city buzzed with the daily grind of survival, a young mother was carrying both her dreams and pain on her frail shoulders. Around 9 a.m., as she was walking along a canal, where someone from her old boarding house mentioned an old man often played chess, someone who looked remarkably like the man in the old photo Han carried. The sky suddenly darkened, the wind picked up, leaves twirled in the air. And then, rain. It poured, sudden and unannounced. Tom burst into tears. The little boy was frightened. Han frantically pulled an old scarf over his head, hugged him tightly, and ran toward a small house up ahead. Han approached the door, her hand trembling as she knocked. The door creaked open, revealing a petite woman in her 50s, her hair streaked with gray. She squinted out into the rain still blowing onto the porch. Han lowered her head slightly, her voice choked with emotion. "Excuse me, the rain is really heavy. May my son and I take shelter here for a while?" The woman looked more closely and saw the two soaked figures, Tom clinging tightly to his mother's neck, his eyes red from the cold and fear. The woman didn't say anything at first. She simply opened the door wider and stepped aside. "Come in, dear. You're drenched. It's too cold for a child to be out like this." The house was modest and old, but clean. Han took off her soaked coat and hurriedly dried Tom with the towel the homeowner handed her. The little boy shivered, teeth chattering, but his eyes softened when he saw his mother smiling gently, calming him with a tender touch. The woman looked at them with eyes full of compassion. She poured a cup of hot tea and handed it to Han, then softly asked, "Where are you two going, out in this weather? The boy's so young. Shouldn't you be somewhere safe?" Han lowered her gaze. After a moment, she spoke, her voice slow and steady, as if carefully unraveling knots buried deep within. "I came from the countryside. I've been an orphan since I was small, raised by my grandmother. She passed away a year ago. Before she died, she finally told me the truth, that my biological parents hadn't died as I'd always believed. They left me with her when I was a baby, then disappeared due to some event she never fully explained." She paused, took a sip of tea, then continued. "I've kept one photo of my father when he was young. I don't know his name or my mother's. All I know is my grandmother said they once lived in this part of the city, near the canal. That's where I've been searching." The woman across from her sat in silence, absorbing every word. The room suddenly felt eerily quiet, filled only by the soft patter of rain on the roof and the heavy thudding of Dieuhan's heart. Han opened her worn cloth bag and carefully pulled out an old, yellowed photograph. She handed it to the woman. The woman took it and stared at it for a long moment. Her face turned pensive, as though rummaging through faded memories of a distant past. But then, she slowly shook her head. No, I've never seen this man. The face doesn't look familiar. Han's heart sank. Once again, hope flickered out like a candle snuffed by rain. The sky, after the rain, had cleared. The gray clouds quietly drifted toward the horizon. Dieu Han stood at the doorstep of the small house where she and Tom had just taken shelter. She bowed her head in gratitude, her eyes reflecting sincere thankfulness. Tightening her grip on her son's hand, she took a deep breath, then continued walking down a path that was once familiar, but now felt so foreign. The path to find her biological parents, a journey without a map, without direction, without even a name. The entire morning passed in hopelessness. Han had asked more people, elderly vendors, motorbike taxi drivers near the canal, but they all shook their heads. No one recognized the old faded photo. Time seemed to slow as her fragile hope was gradually blown away by the wind. Tom grew tired, asked for food, then quietly fell asleep on his mother's shoulder. But Han didn't dare rest. Her heart was exhausted, filled with doubt. Am I searching for something that never existed? As she wandered through a small street near the old market, a sudden scream pierced the air. A woman's voice cried out, "Let go of me! Don't take my bag! Someone, help me, please!" Startled, Han slowed her steps, then turned into a narrow alley where coconut palms cast long shadows. As she approached, she froze. It was Jiang. Now, Jiang and another man were grabbing a woman around Han's age, rifling through her handbag. The woman struggled and screamed, but no one around seemed to hear. Han's heart pounded in her chest. She held Tom tighter. He had woken and sensed something was wrong. Quickly, she backed away and hid behind a large coconut tree. She hugged her son close and covered his ears so he wouldn't hear the woman's desperate cries. But she knew. She had to do something. She couldn't just turn away. Without thinking further, Han ran out of the alley, scanning desperately for help. Thankfully, not far away, she spotted a middle-aged man around 50. She rushed over, panting. "Sir, please! Someone's been attacked in that alley. Please help her." The man frowned but didn't waste time. He grabbed a wooden stick by the door and followed Han to the scene. When they arrived, Jiang and his accomplice were still assaulting the woman. She had fallen to the ground, clutching her stomach, eyes pleading for help. Jiang turned and went pale when he saw the man standing firmly at the alley entrance. He glanced at Han, still holding Tom behind the man, and instantly recognized her face. Knowing he was now outmatched, Jiang signaled his accomplice to retreat. They fled. Han, Tom, and their new companion thanked the man profusely. Footsteps echoed hurriedly down the small alley, still damp from the rain. Dieuhan held Tom tightly in one arm while gripping the hand of the woman they had just helped. Both women were breathless, rushing away from the alley where the assault had occurred. The victim was clearly exhausted, clutching a scraped arm, her steps shaky, but her eyes still burned with determination. After they had run a fair distance, they stopped at a quiet corner near a small park. Han leaned against a tree trunk, breathing heavily, her sweat and the rain blending into drops running down her cheeks. I think they're not following us anymore, Han mumbled, still holding Tom close to her chest. The woman let out a long sigh and nodded. Her eyes reflected both worry and deep gratitude. Thank you. If it hadn't been for you and that man, I don't know what would have happened. It's okay. I've had trouble with them before too. We have to help each other when things get tough. A silence settled between them. Han gently brushed Tom's hair from his forehead, then softly asked, "What's your name?" "I'm Dieu Han, and this is my son Tom." The woman looked at Han, her lips tightening briefly before offering a faint smile. "My name is Dieuhan. I live nearby. If you don't have a place to stay, come to my house. If Jiang knows you're still in this area, he'll surely come back." Hope flickered in Han's eyes. A place to rest, a roof, even if temporary. Perhaps that was what she needed more than clues about her birth parents right now. Dieuhan and Han walked along a narrow trail, flanked by tall wild grasses towering above their heads. Tom lay quietly in his mother's arms, not stirring. Just as they thought things were finally calming down, they froze near a small bridge. Jiang, he was there, standing on the bridge with his accomplice, scanning the area with darting eyes. Dieuhan quickly pulled Han behind a thick bush by the roadside. The three of them held their breath. Han clutched Tom tightly, her heart pounding like a drum. "They're not giving up," Han whispered, her voice trembling. "They're definitely looking for you. If we cross the bridge now, they'll spot us for sure," Dieuhan said, her eyes filled with fear. "Is there another way?" Han asked, desperate. Dieuhan scanned the surroundings, thinking quickly, then pointed toward the riverside. "There's a longer way around, but we'd have to cross a shallow part of the river. I've done it before, it's not deep." Han looked down at Tom, still sleeping peacefully in her arms, then shook her head. "No, he's too small. If I slip, or if the water rushes suddenly?" About 10 minutes passed. Jiang and his accomplice seemed to grow impatient. They scanned the area one last time, cursed under their breath, then walked off in another direction. The two women carefully made their way along the riverbank, heading for the space beneath the bridge, dark, damp, and narrow. Han gently lifted Tom higher and followed behind Dieuhan, each step measured, as if even the smallest sound would give them away. At last, they emerged on the other side. In front of them was a small alley leading to Dieuhan's home. Han let out a long, quiet breath. Tom was still peacefully asleep in her arms. Dieuhan turned back with a soft smile. "We're here. Come in and rest a while." Dieuhan's small house nestled at the end of the alley, tucked behind a grove of banana trees and a row of coconut palms. Dieu Han sat down on an old bamboo chair, still damp from the afternoon rain, holding Tom gently in her arms. She wiped the seat clean and placed her son on her lap, rocking him softly with a steady rhythm. Dieuhan stepped out from the small kitchen, carrying 2 glasses of water in her hands. The water was clear and simple, yet it carried a quiet warmth. She set 1 glass in front of Han, then sat down beside her. "Drink this. It'll help you regain your strength." Han took a sip, then set the glass down, her eyes filled with gratitude as she looked at Dieuhan. She began telling her story, how she had run into Jiang and her journey to this place in search of her biological parents. Dieuhan listened, then shared her own pain. "My stepfather. He's hard to describe. After my mother passed away, he started treating me like a commodity. When my brother lost a big in gambling, my stepfather forced me to marry a man 20 years older to settle the debt. I was only 17. I refused. I ran away. But he didn't stop. He hired people to track me down, take pictures of me, even threatened to send documents to my hometown to force me to return. I don't know where else to go now, so I've been living in hiding here. In the dim old house between the two women, something greater stirred, understanding. A strange kind of friendship began to blossom, born from shared pain. Dieuhan stood up gently. Stay here with me. I live alone, barely cook these days. But now that you're here, it's nice to have company. I'll fry the eggs and pick the greens. You cook the rice, all right? Han smiled faintly, her eyes glistening. All right. It's been a long time since I felt like I had someone at home. After some quiet bustling in the kitchen, the simple meal was finally ready. The rice had just finished steaming, fragrant and soft. Dieuhan had plated a golden omelet, and a dish of vibrant green morning glory sat neatly on the table. The little kitchen came alive, not with loud chatter or laughter, but with a gentle sense of belonging. A quiet peace between two souls who had, after many weary days, found a fleeting moment of home. After a simple yet warm dinner, Han lay next to Tom in the small room of Dieuhan's house. Outside, the wind whispered softly through the leaves. Inside Han's heart, all the exhaustion momentarily settled. She looked at her sleeping son and gently whispered, "Tomorrow, we'll be on the road again, my dear. We must find your grandparents." Han knew that come morning, their journey would continue. No matter how difficult it would be, she would keep going for her son. The road ahead was still long, still full of hardship, but her heart felt steadier now, because at last she knew she was no longer alone. Ahead of her was hope, behind her, kindness, and within her heart, love for her son and for the family she had never met. The journey of Han and Tom continues, so stay with me for the next chapter.
Sau bữa cơm tối đạm bạc nhưng ấm áp, Hân nằm cạnh Tôm trong căn phòng nhỏ của Uyên. Ngoài trời, gió thổi rì rào qua kẽ lá. Trong lòng Hân, mọi mệt mỏi tạm thời lắng xuống. Cô nhìn con trai ngủ say, rồi khẽ thì thầm: "Ngày mai, mẹ con mình lại lên đường, con nhé. Phải tìm bằng được ông bà ngoại của con." Hân biết rằng ngày mai mình lại tiếp tục cuộc hành trình. Dù cho vất vả đến đâu, cô sẽ luôn cố gắng vì con của mình. Con đường phía trước còn dài, còn gian nan, nhưng lòng cô đã vững hơn, vì giờ đây cô biết rằng mình không còn đơn độc. Phía trước là hy vọng, phía sau là lòng tốt, và trong tim là tình yêu thương dành cho con trai, dành cho gia đình mà cô chưa từng gặp mặt. Cuộc hành trình của Hân và Tôm vẫn diễn ra, vì vậy bạn hãy cùng tôi chờ đón phần tiếp theo nhé.